like to call the order the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment meeting for March 15th, 2012. Our first order of business is approval of the March 1st, 2012 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Register your vote.
Thank you.
Mr. Allen, register your vote.
I was not present at that meeting.
Okay, thank you. Next order of business is approval of the February 16th, 2012 meeting. And that we could take a motion from Mr. Jones or Mr. Allen.
And there was only 3 of us, and is that correct?
That's correct.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Register your vote. And Mike wasn't here for that because he was not present. Continuous requests or withdrawals from staff.
We have one today, item number 12, case number 13244, request a continuance to April 5th.
Do I have a motion to approve that continuance request?
Is either party here?
Yes.
My name is Brian Dale. I live at 528 Northwest 17th Street, and I'm here in opposition to any continuance. I provided information last Friday that I believe has been distributed to the members of the board.
And I believe, if I'm correct, staff correct me, that they were not able to get it on the docket for the HP meeting, and that is the reason for the continuance request.
It's my understanding that the board had requested that they be put on the, and I called and asked them if they had been, and they explained to me, the staff explained to me that no, it wasn't on that docket. But this board had said that it wanted it on the docket for the 7th, as I recall.
And the reason it was not on the docket was it the applicants was remiss, or was it something administrative?
I believe the staff didn't have time to get it on the docket for that meeting.
Among the other things that were stated, and I believe by the chairman, in fact, was that they had requested that Friesen provide information regarding any contact that he had with the so-called owners, the Bowmans, as to whether they would replace that information. So this is just, again, one more continuance, again and again and again by not doing it. I think that, in fact, there had been a statement last time suggesting that this be presented to the city council for being brought by a nuisance act by the city. None of that was done, and it's reflected in the emails that I attached to my objection.
Okay. I would like for staff to address the board and tell us what would be the implications if we deny the continuance request, what would happen and what would be the consequences of that action.
Well, the entire application is for an extension of time on your previous approval to finish the addition, and you've been dragging that out, not dragging it out, but allowing the continuances to have both to make some progress on each side. But I believe if you denied the extension, we would pursue action of the inspectors to issue notice that he's not in compliance.
I would also advise that there has been absolutely nothing done to that structure since this hearing in February.
Dan, do you have anything for us regarding this matter?
I concur with JJ. I think their board order lapses if it's not extended, so they're back where they were.
And back where they were would mean that the city, cites them for non-compliance, and then what happens at that point?
They can go. They'll have to go back to the HP Commission and seek a CA from them. Start over, basically.
And Mr. Dell, obviously, he's interested. He lives next door to the subject property, and he's interested in his situation in the neighborhoods. Are they likely to better themselves if we take them back to square one, or? Because, that's your objective, is to make things better and to get things better.
That's correct.
Okay. And I want us to make a thoughtful and informed decision because, I think, one reason that we have, stayed with this for so long is because we hear your concerns, and we're doing our best, I think, as a board to try to make things better.
Well, I think the board's suggestion that it be brought as a public nuisance was the best solution that I've heard for some time, and that this unfortunately doesn't get us to that point. This has been going on for like 13 years.
But if we deny the continuance requests, does that, in your view, make things better?
Well, I'm not exactly sure of what the process would be. I would presume that if that were denied, that the only recourse would be to take it to district court to overturn whatever approval it would be. Not the city, but the applicant. And I think that would be an appropriate thing to let them do that. That would give the opportunity, among other things, to bring that public nuisance action as part of any review that they sought in district court.
Dan, is that accurate?
They could appeal the board's denial, that's correct, to the district court. It would be a de novo trial.
But there's no guarantee that that's what the applicant would do.
I understand.
And you may be back in a position where things just, a lot of nothing happens over an extended period of time.
Well, as noted in the materials that I furnished to the board this past Friday, we filed complaints with the city with regard to it. They came back saying that there were none. I gave you pictures that show the backyard. If that's not non-compliant with the city statute, I don't know what is.
And I share your frustration. And again, this board, the scope of what we can do and what we can consider, is limited. And I think, I want to reassure you that, at least speaking for me, that we have tried, to hear you and to act in a manner that is conducive to helping this, move forward, get the repairs and the other work on the house move forward, and that we try to, see it to completion. But I mean, right now I feel like we're at a little bit of a crossroads in terms of, either approving or denying. And I'm asking, I'm giving you the opportunity to tell us how you feel about it. Which course you would like for us to consider is the one that's best for the neighborhood. And
well, the one that would be best for the neighborhood, in my view anyway, would be the enforcement of the regulations with regards to junk property. And that it's hard for me to see, as I stated, that this is not junk property, and you can look at the photos and make your own determination. I don't imagine what is.
But we don't have the power.
I understand that, but I can tell the board that my past experience with other pieces of property in my neighborhood is whenever there was strong compliance, in other words, issuance of citations, that I've seen people in my neighborhood go to jail for their, first of all, failure to comply with the ordinance, and second, not showing up or paying in the court. And that those are the types of things that, ultimately it's an enforcement policy that needs to be pursued. And while I understand that this board can't do that specific thing, that the board can take at least the first step. I'm not exactly sure what would happen in the event that they denied it, but in the event that you denied the continuance and there was proper enforcement, I think we'd be getting close to that situation.
And we have the power to deny the variance request. We do not have the power to, we don't know what will happen after that.
I understand.
Other board members?
If we were to deny it, and the process goes through district court, or what kind of time frame are we talking about there?
That would depend on what judge it was assigned to and what their agenda was like. Also, though, any enforcement would be stayed by an appeal to the district court till the district court rules on the appeal.
Excuse me. Is the applicant here?
Didn't see him.
So right now, the only thing we've got is a request for a continuance that I assume came from the applicant by an email or phone call or something. Oh, from staff. Okay. So the first thing we would do procedurally is vote yes or no on the continuance, and if we deny a continuance, it just gets rolled to number 12.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions or need for clarification from staff or Mr. Dell?
Now, am I correct, though, that if we denied the request for continuance at this point, that we could then subsequently make a motion to that effect if in the course of deliberating we decide?
You could do it when you get to the
item
case on the
12.
merits. If there wasn't a decision, you continue it then.
Okay, next question. Did we in any way indicate to the applicant that we would continue it? I mean, nobody made that kind of an indication.
The HP staff may have, because they're the ones that are in contact with him, but our department isn't.
Is a member of the staff here?
But is this on an HP docket? Is that what I heard you say it's not?
It was supposed to have been on last week's HP docket and then for carryover to be set on this docket as it is today, but it wasn't set on this docket, or to be set on this docket originally as a motion for continuance, or it may have been, I don't know. But
Okay.
the particular issue happens to be with the windows on the back of the house and whether or not they were non-conforming, and the HPC had determined they were non-conforming, so it's still back before them before it came back before this board. Now, I'll defer to the board's better judgment on this. I mean, we're only talking about one more month out of a 13-year period, so it's not like it's material in time.
I would say, my sense, and one reason, that I've, pursued, whatever action we've taken is because at least if we kept them accountable to us, we maintain some control over the process, and, I'm with you. I'd like for it to be over tomorrow.
Well, I understand the board's position, and I'm agreeable with that particular position. I mean, I'd like for it to be over tomorrow also, but if the board puts it down for its next docket in April after the board meeting, that would work for us.
The progress may be incremental and not as fast as or as complete as we'd like, but at least we're still engaged with the applicant. And again, if we deny the continuance request, I think we essentially cut it loose. And
I understand. Thank you.
Is our next docket April 5? Okay, I'll move. Okay, in that case, if we're done, I'll move we continue it to April 5.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Register your vote. Case is continued to the April 5th meeting. Thank you, Mr. Dell.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 1, case number 13533, request of use variance of New Dominion for permit to drill an oil gas well located at 3125 Southeast 67th Street.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dennis Fox here on behalf of the applicant. And if you all have had the opportunity to go out and see this site, this is a site that has several other oil wells, both on this property and in close proximity up at the corner of Bryant and 59th. So we think it's a proper location. We know of no protest, and we're here to answer any questions if you have any.
Entryway, no problem?
No problem.
Okay.
Well, based on the staff report, I'd move to approve the application.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Register your vote. You are approved.
Thank you very much.
Item number 2, case number 13524, request of Chesapeake Land Company for a variance to the hard surface paving requirement located at 4050 West I-40 Service Road.
And Mr. Box, if I may, I'd just like to disclose again that I've had a business relationship with several members of the parent company. I don't see a conflict here, but I would, of course, like the opportunity for anyone to protest to my involvement.
And your relationship is with Chesapeake?
That's right, Chesapeake Energy.
On behalf of Chesapeake, of course, we don't have any objection to you hearing this case. We'll know you'll give us a fair hearing. I will tell you that we continued it last time because you had a protest letter, and Tim Johnson and I went and met with the individual that is in charge of the Lady Americana plant and came to an agreement, and that agreement deals with paving the drive that's adjacent to their facility. And so there should be a letter that you all have withdrawing their protest. The site in question is the old Hodges trucking site.
Dennis, we do not have a letter to that effect.
We have one in the file. Yeah.
Okay.
Should have been emailed to you.
Okay. The issue that the president of Lady Americana had was dust, and so what we did was we met with him, went out to the site, and there's a access roadway that goes back to Highline Boulevard that really acts as a access road for I-40. And we went back to our client, and the client has agreed to either provide asphalt or concrete along that north-south roadway. So that took care of the issues they had, and the reason we're here, the Hodges Trucking, before Chesapeake acquired it, has always been gravel, will continue to be gravel, but we built a little building that's shown on the west portion of that site plan, and that kicked in an ordinance, and so we're here to ask that the actual site itself be allowed to retain its same status, and that's based on the heavy trucks and all that go in there on a regular basis.
I went to that site, and the road that Dennis is saying they're agreeing to blacktop is gravel, and with the wind that we have, I can understand how, you've got gravel dust on the cars. And Lady Americana is directly east of the Hodges property. But when I was there, it was a windy day too, and there was not dust coming up off the yard as such. And so I concur that it shouldn't be an issue, and your neighbor does not see it as an issue either, do they?
Well, then I'd move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. You are approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want the record to reflect we did not bring the first two cases that Mr. Voorhees would be sitting on before this docket to deal with gravel parking lots. We hope not to bring any more for at least another year.
You've had a little experience with that dust and construction too, haven't you, Dennis?
Item number 3, case number 13526, request of Nick's Legacy Limited Partnership for a variance to allow parking and maneuvering in the public right-of-way located at 2230 South I-35 Service Road.
If you would give us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Benjamin Benavides, and I'm a contractor for the property owner, Mr. Jimmy Nix. He's out of town today, and the person that's leasing the property, his wife had a baby, so I'm here on their behalf.
Okay.
So as I look at it, it just appears that you all are attempting to just repair or repave an existing lot.
Yes, sir. That parking lot's been there since 1965, I believe, and over the years it's got lots of potholes and everything. It has become somewhat of a safety issue, because of the large potholes. They're having to put down sheet metal to cover the holes, and plus moving forklifts over this property. It's a danger to the employees also.
Sounds like repair is in order then.
Yep.
Okay.
Would agree. Well, I would move to approve the application.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Register your vote. You are approved, sir.
So we're good now?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Item number 4, case number 13527, request of Hobby Lobby stores for a variance to the sidewalk requirement located at 7007 Southwest 44th Street.
Alan Kirkpatrick, 205 Northwest 63rd. We'd like to bring up some additional handouts, if that's okay. The first sheet shows the project site. The bottom right-hand corner, it's a U-shaped building. Second sheet shows a aerial view of that. Hobby Lobby has all the warehouses in the area. It's a basically it's an industrial area. It's all zoned industrial. The third sheet shows the zoning. We have 2 points we'd like to make. First of all, because it is an industrial area, there's virtually no pedestrian traffic up and down 44th Street. And the Hobby Lobby would like to, given there's no pedestrian traffic, Hobby Lobby doesn't see the need to provide a sidewalk for that. The second point we'd like to make is that the Hobby Lobby usually or traditionally has gone over and above on landscaping. The fourth sheet that you have shows the traditional landscaping they provide. Where city statutes require about 1,000 points, they usually, this past project we provided, or the requirement was 1,600, we provided 5,400 points of landscaping. And Hobby Lobby would like to be, a good corporate citizen and do what's right, but they'd also like to do, maybe what's reasonable and logical in this case, and I'd like you to consider that.
Do you have a census to the nearest residential community in that area? I know it's an industrial zone, but
yeah, if you don't mind, on the first sheet of the handout, and the reason we did the handout is because the map that we provided Kathy didn't show quite far enough. The nearest residential area I'm aware of is to the west of Council. Council is on the far left side of the sheet. There's a Western Heights School. To the east, it's east of Highway 152, which is the old airport road that cuts across at a diagonal.
okay.
South of the complex, there's nothing but an industrial area.
Okay. And are you aware of any protests to your application?
Hobby Lobby, when we did the required radius, it was almost, Hobby Lobby owns so much of that area, we had to go well beyond where they are. To give you a sense of scale, they have over a mile of frontage on 44th Street.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'm going to move to approve the application.
Second.
Mr. Allen, do you have any comments that you wanted to make? We have a motion and a second. Register your vote. You are approved.
Item number 5, case number 13528, request of Oklahoma City landfill for a variance to permit a 20-foot tall fence located at 7001 South Bryant Avenue.
I'm Robert Thompson, 6301 Waterford Boulevard, here for the landfill and the applicant. This is the Oklahoma City landfill located on South Bryant. I know that some of you are very well familiar with this site. This provision today pertains to a convenience center that's being built on site so that residents can bring and deposit items they want to dispose of. It's usually construction debris. And rather than having private vehicles driving up on the landfill to deposit, unload their vehicles, which is a safety issue and sometimes is a getting stuck in the mud issue. So this is going to be a center that's being constructed for the convenience of the public and to make flow in and out of the landfill more useful. The convenience center itself is a permitted use within the PUD for this landfill. However, when the application for the construction permit was applied for, that brought into question the fence. The ordinance mandates that the fence would not be higher than 8 feet. I would suggest it would maybe a good amendment to that ordinance would say, except in those cases where staff feels it would be beneficial to the public to have a higher fence. Might be an appropriate addition to that ordinance, but here staff has requested that we apply for this so that we can build a higher fence, a 20-foot fence, which is basically like a golf course fence to catch any debris that might blow onto neighboring property. For the most part, we contemplate that the things deposited aren't going to be the kind of trash that blows, but there could be some deposit of trash that would blow, and so this fence will help control that and prevent that. And therefore, we ask that you approve this variance so that we can put in a fence that staff believes is beneficial and we're willing to incur the expense to comply with.
And in addition to that, staff's belief that this is the appropriate height, it's also my understanding that if we do not approve this, then you would not be in compliance potentially with the Oklahoma Administrative Code. Is that right, in the sense that the blower
It would
would
then, if an 8-foot fence would comply with your code, that it wouldn't meet what staff believes is beneficial and necessary.
Okay.
Bob, is this something similar to what they put in on 36th Street?
Yes, it is, and I brought a picture I can pass around. It's a series of pictures that...
Yeah, you can go ahead.
It doesn't block view, it just blocks blowing trash. And this is one that was taken in Stillwater for a similar purpose. And it'll be of similar construction. The engineer that's designing and in charge of building it is here if you have any questions.
I'd like to commend you guys for the cleaning up of Bryant, and trucks coming in and going out, especially going out. You've done a fantastic job as far, and I watch it. Like I said I would. I go by there just almost once a month. When we talked about this in the Planning Commission, I said I'd do that, and I've kept my word.
Well, our Planning Commission representative for this ward has kept us alert to the need to take care of those needs, and we're happy that we've done it to your satisfaction.
You've done a good job, and I appreciate it.
We thank
and
you.
with that, I'll recommend approval. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Register your vote. You are approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 6, case number 13529, request of Dale Alstead for a variance to the rear yard setback located at 9216 Knightsbridge Road.
If you would, your name and address for the record, please.
Dale Alstead at 901 Pruitt Drive. The homeowner is just requesting that we remove their existing patio addition that they have on. They purchased the house with it on there. Unhappy with it, and they just want to make it, just replace it. The only thing we're doing is going a little wider on the back of the house. So we would be taking out exactly what's there, and it's we'd be building it to building code with footings and concrete slab and et cetera. There's a green belt that runs along the back of the property that has all of the utilities in it. The back homeowner is on the other side of the green belt, so it doesn't encroach upon their view of their house.
Any protests?
Anybody from the public to speak to this application? None.
I'm okay. I'll move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Register your vote. You are approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 7, case number 13530, request of Socrates Lazaridis for a variance to the required number of parking spaces located at 5900 West Memorial Road.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Socrates Lazaridis with Renaissance Architects and Engineers, and representing the owner of this property. My address is 11100 Stratford Drive, Oklahoma City. I have a handout to pass to you, if that's okay. The site plan we have provided in our application shows the site plan, the building, and the areas that have been leased. There's one tenant space for a new restaurant on the north side of the building, about 3,600 square feet, and we're requesting 7 additional parking spaces to make this work for the owner.
And to the other board members, in the application, they've noted that some of the other parking for the other tenants is relatively short-term and may be available.
That's correct.
For the restaurant patrons.
All the existing tenants, the convenience store, the liquor store, Olive Leaf, and the car wash, they're short-term parking spaces. And we have 20 parking spaces under the canopy that in the old days they used to account for parking, but not anymore. So,
Are you aware of any protest
Not that I know of.
In that case, I move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Register your vote. You are approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 8, case number 13531, request of Stonewall Property Holdings for a variance to the required number of parking spaces, the hard surface paving requirement, and the landscaping requirement located at 13800 South Meridian Avenue.
Good afternoon. Drew Mildren, 2720 Northwest 56th Street. First, I have to apologize. I've lost my voice, so hopefully you can hear me. Here on behalf of Stonewall Property Holdings, they have a property basically being used for warehouse and storage, 13800 South Meridian. Little to no public access. The building currently being constructed, as well as a second proposed building, are considerably set back from Meridian itself. And so it was in our opinion, and hopefully yours as well, that some of these requirements, the paving and the parking as well as the landscaping requirements, don't necessarily apply to this property.
There's a note in our packet that says that we could require landscaping treatment along I-44.
Sure.
Has that been discussed with you?
No, I think we actually mentioned in our application that we'd be happy to do whatever the board decided as far as a lesser requirement. I think we'd be happy to work with whatever y'all decide.
Do we have some kind of ordinance or something that says what they would have to do along that?
No, most of the required landscaping would be interior to the site and along Meridian Avenue frontage. Seems like there was a similar application to this that you approved, and you required some deciduous and non-deciduous trees along the I-44 frontage.
And would you be willing to do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you were willing to do and I guess we'd have to work with the city to find out exactly what needs to be done there, I'll make a motion to approve.
I think we ought to decide on some kind of distance between those trees, like 25-foot centers.
Okay.
You're willing? Okay.
Sure.
I'm okay with that. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Register your vote. You are approved.
Thank you.
Item number 9, case number 13532, application for special exception of Laura Beth Flees to allow a mobile home to serve as a temporary second dwelling to relieve a medical hardship located at 11220 South Choctaw Road.
If you would, just give us your name and address for the record, please.
11220 South Choctaw.
Pull the microphone down a little.
11220 South Choctaw Road in Newalla.
And your
my name
is
Laura Beth Flees.
Thank you. Go ahead and speak to your application. It says you've got a medical condition with your grandmother and that you've submitted the documentation to the city pertaining to your grandmother's condition and her needs.
Yes, she's 96, getting ready to be 97, and is just getting a little bit more frail, and she's about 15 minutes away right now, and I'm home all day with I homeschool with my kids, so we're able to walk down there and take care of her, get her whatever she needs. So.
And this application is for a period of 3 years.
Okay. And that's the only thing that, I'm inclined to support this, but the 3 years is what concerns me. I would be more inclined to agree to a year, and maybe, I don't know what you all are thinking, but I think that I've read enough to support the granting of the application, but it's just that 3-year period that gives me some angst.
The ordinance provides for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been customary for us to approve variance requests like this for 3 years.
Okay.
And so the family has provided adequate documentation and the,
Yeah, as long as there's a precedent, I'm fine. I presume there are no protests that you're aware of or anything like that? No one? Okay. Well,
Would there have to be a separate well and septic tank for that?
We have a barn down there, and it already has a well. We're going to have to, it already has a well. We just have to put a septic in. So.
And the ordinance provides for 2 years, is that correct?
maximum of 3 years.
Maximum.
Or, it's 3 years, or if the need is no longer there earlier than 3 years, it has to go away. And then she'll have to get a permit for that mobile home, just as she would as if it were a permanent residence and meet all the requirements.
Okay.
Well, then I'll move to approve the application.
Second.
Motion and a second. Register your vote. You are approved.
Item number 10, case number 13534, request of 808 indoor skate park for a variance to the required number of parking spaces located at 224 Northeast 46th Street.
How are you doing today?
Your name and address. We're
Patton
fine.
Simpson, address 2733 Claremont Place.
We've got your application in front of us. Go ahead and speak to and tell us what you'd like to do.
I'm actually wanting to have a variance for my parking for a business that I've been working on and off for about, I'd say, 6 months to 8 months. What has happened is I have had a permit which has stopped for my plumbers. They can't do any more work to the building. As required, you are actually looking at an occupancy level that is way above what I'm going to be having allowed in the park. Your sessions will be actually limited to a certain amount of group of people, so you're looking at maybe 20 to 30 people at a time. But as the building lies, your parking is supposed to be accustomed to what the estimated occupancy is, and there's just no way to build. The front of the building is actually just shy, probably about 8 feet, of allowing cars to come in and also go, which alleviates no parking. The alleyway, which is in between my building and my neighbor's building, I'm approximately about 6 to 8 feet, again, shy of being able to put parking stalls in there. But the back parking lot would more than accommodate what I'm looking for as far as my participants showing up to the park.
And what kind of skate park is this?
It's
when I think of skating, I think of roller skating, but that's not...
Indoor skate park, so you're looking at BMX bikes, skateboards, scooters, inline rollerblades.
And the business is only designed to have 20 or 22 people at a time?
Yeah, as far as the scale size of the park goes, I'm working with less than 10,000 actual working square foot on the floor. You approximately have maybe right under 3,000, which is the front office areas. So I've got like a pool room, a waiting room, a viewing room.
What happens, though, if you've only got 19 parking spaces and 2 handicap? I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, you're going to be full. I mean, that's going to put a cap on how many customers you can have.
The majority of customers that do actually come, in my past experience, parents drop their children off. You're looking at an age bracket that's definitely under 16. Probably the majority of the business is derived around 70% of a younger class of people. Usually the older crowds, with my past affiliation of a skate park, you have kids that carpool together. So there's really not a lot of campers.
So there's not a lot of, I mean, the parking is not as much of an issue because some of your clientele is preteen, they're not driving anyway,
Correct.
and they're dropped off by friends or parents.
Correct.
Well, I guess if we want to consider this approving, the variance request, we could tie it to this use, am I correct? So that if the use of the facility or the building changes,
Is there any other place around there that maybe you could get some parking or have some kind of agreement? Do you have a time that your business runs? Is it all day long, or
It is not all day long. It's going to fluctuate because you've got school hours, then you have summer hours, and then of course your spring break hours and such like that. But predominantly my business hours are going to start like around 2 o'clock and go till probably 6 or 7 o'clock. My neighbors to the left and the right of me both leave by 3:30, 4 o'clock. So there's really no big traffic flow through that area. As far as if there was a place that I could actually have an overflow of traffic to go to, it's possible, but you also have, I think you have a couple of state offices that are right around the corner. My back parking lot, or I guess approximately on the opposite side of the back parking lot, you've got parking for days for the state that's not even used whatsoever. It's just empty parking lot. I don't know who actually is in charge of that, but as far as I was concerned, I didn't really think that there would be an overflow.
And are you aware of any protests, any concern from any of your neighbors? And are you leasing the facility?
Leasing the
And how long is your lease?
My lease was signed for a year, and then he's kept it open for me, just due to the fact of we need to try to see if we can get this approved.
I'm a little bit concerned with, I know that, after hours is pretty much when this thing is going to run, but and it's mainly teenagers.
Correct.
That's going to be there. I'm concerned with the traffic on 46th Street, or the parking on 46th and Stiles and Walnut. With that, that's a significant amount of parking that, that he's failing to provide, and I think it may hurt your business. I would be more comfortable if maybe you could talk with the people across the street or some of the other neighbors and get permission from them to use their parking and bring it back to us at our next meeting with some verification that they will allow you to do that.
Okay.
Would that be acceptable to you?
As far as time goes, would it be acceptable? I'm running very short on being able to provide myself a place to rent. With as much as the bills have been coming in with providing for electricity, security, extra lighting for the parking, being in compliance as far as with the plumbing issues and extra bathrooms, I just don't see time is a big factor for me.
When are you scheduled to open?
I'm scheduled to open as soon as I can get the bathroom finished and the parking done. Everything else is in place. I'm ready to go. It's just this has been a holdup for several months with juggling who's doing the legwork with my landlord or what footwork I'm supposed to actually be doing. The building was actually registered quite some time ago before I actually moved into the place, and I've done a total revamping of everything as far as putting new carpet down, new ceiling tiles, and all that's been done as far as...
But what's your timeline with the bathroom? That's something that's...
The bathroom is ready to go. They're waiting for an inspector to come down and just approve the fixtures, and then they'll go ahead and lay the cement and put the toilets back up.
From the ordinance standpoint, is this kind of a teen recreation facility? Is that how is it classed? Or
It's a participant recreation. Indoor participant recreation.
so you're going to have skateboards, you're going to have pool tables?
There's just one pool table, and that's just in the back lounge room. But as far as on the floor, you're able to have bikes, scooters, skateboards, and rollerbladers.
Let me take a stab at a motion so we can move it. I'll move approval, subject to, help me word it, this particular use, the indoor participant, and if you will limit the number of customers, I think I heard you say 30 max.
That is correct.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
And, and we can say that there's really no enforcement action. I mean, it's an act of good faith. We have concerns, you can tell.
Yes.
And I mean, and Mr. Allen is indicating that he would like for you to come back to us with an agreement from your neighbor that more parking is available with their consent, and you're telling us that, timeliness is an issue, and I think we understand that. And we certainly want to restrict, any variance to the use that you're asking for. But it's a matter of good faith. We have no way of knowing whether there are 30 people or more in there, and so it's, the concerns for the surrounding areas, street parking, and other issues are, I think, we're mindful of those. We have a motion to approve, subject to the limitation of this use of the indoor skate park.
I'd have greater comfort if, and I understand your concerns about time, but I think that, or your, the realities of the time frame with which you're working. But I do think that, as you've heard, we do have some concerns, and I think it would be better for us to table this matter until the April 5th meeting and afford you time to do some additional legwork to just be able to demonstrate that our concerns will be alleviated. Otherwise, I will have I would be in a position to have to vote not to approve the application. So with that said, I'm going to move that we continue or table this matter until our April 5th meeting with the expectation that you will go and, again, do some additional due diligence and provide us documentation to support it.
Okay. Do we need to withdraw the motion that's on the table?
No, you didn't get a second.
Sorry.
I'll second that motion.
So the motion on the table is to continue to the April 5th meeting.
Okay.
Please register your vote. We have a motion and a second. You're continued to April 5th.
Thank you very much.
Item number 11, case number 13535, request of Downtown OKC for a variance to permit a 10-foot tall security fence located at 400 West Reno Avenue.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, board members. My name is Sean Jones. I represent Downtown Oklahoma City Incorporated, 211 North Robinson in Oklahoma City. And we are here to ask for a variance for the height of a chain link fence in the downtown area, specifically 400 West Reno. The purpose of the fence is for to surround the perimeter of a basketball court that will be open to the public, mainly as safety barrier for on-court activities, ball containment. It also will give us the ability to lock and close the court for security purposes after dark, after we close, and then again in the morning, we'd be open back up. The 10-foot height of the fence, we believe, will deter people from climbing the 10-foot fence versus a 6 or an 8-foot fence. And aesthetically, we have looked at going with a black vinyl-coated fence. It will have top, mid, and bottom rails for aesthetic and appearance. It'll give us some secure. It won't be a rattle type fence. It'll be tightly bound to the post. We'll have an entrance gate with locking mechanisms. And the fence size is 100 by 60, 160, so roughly 320 linear feet of fence. And I did provide some appearances of what the fence will look like. Of course, this is just a representation of what it'll be. The one on the left, that is a 10-foot height. It just looks stretched in the picture. And that's our purpose here today, is to ask for this variance.
Did DDRC hear this matter today?
Yes, they did this morning, and it was approved.
Okay. And you're requesting an interim use. What period of time do you anticipate?
Well, this is a temporary use. We had requested for 4 years or until redevelopment in the area has been determined, in which point we will remove the fence and the basketball goals.
Okay. Is it going to be just a chain link fence?
Yes, sir.
I think there's a photo. Can we go back to that photo? Is there a precedent? Again, I'm concerned about the length of time for the proposed extension. Is there a precedent for such an extension?
The Downtown Design Review Committee approved it for 4 years.
Okay.
So they thought that was adequate. If at the end of 4 years, it's still there, they will come back and to the Downtown Committee and ask for an extension.
Okay. In that case, I move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Register your vote. You are approved.
Thank you.
And that is our last case. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Motion and a second. We are adjourned.